Talking about money in America always stirs heated discussions. Everyone dreams about earning more, investing better, and eventually reaching financial freedom. But the reality is that most people keep stumbling over the same traps again and again. These mistakes repeat themselves across generations, and they are the very reason why so many Americans work long hours, hustle every day, yet see so little progress in building real wealth. Understanding these mistakes is the very first step to breaking out of the rat race and finally making money work for you instead of against you. The first big mistake shows up early in life: spending more than you earn. It may sound obvious, almost too simple, but it is exactly what pulls millions of families into financial quicksand. Americans have the habit of living right on the edge of their paycheck, and often a little beyond, relying on credit cards to bridge the gap. It's the famous "I'll figure out how to pay it later" mindset. The problem is, later always comes, and it comes with interest. John, for example, takes home $4,000 a month but spends $4,500. That little difference of $500 doesn't look like much, but it's covered by a credit card charging 18% interest. In less than a year, that small hole has grown into a debt of over $2,000. It's like running endlessly on a treadmill. No matter how hard he pushes himself, he never actually moves forward. Closely tied to this is the second mistake: having no emergency fund. Without a cushion, every little surprise turns into a storm. Mary never saved a penny, always repeating that there's barely enough for the basics. But then her child needed urgent medical care, and suddenly she had nowhere to turn. Her only option was a personal loan at sky-high interest. That decision set her back for years. When you don't have reserves, life feels fragile. One blown tire, one broken refrigerator, or one emergency room visit can snowball into months of debt. Instead of building security, millions of people stay stuck in a cycle of patching holes, borrowing money, and falling further behind. The third mistake is confusing status with wealth. In America, it's common to see people financing a brand new $40,000 truck or SUV, but having less than $5,000 in savings or investments. Charles is that kind of person. Every 2 years he trades in his car to impress the neighbors, but he still rents, has no investments, and no long-term plan. The chase for appearances keeps people broke because they prioritize looking rich over actually becoming wealthy. Cars depreciate, the newest phone loses its shine, and what remains is nothing but debt and disappointment. Real wealth isn't about what's parked in your driveway. It's about what grows quietly in your bank account and investment portfolio. Another silent but deadly mistake is letting money sit idle. Many people still leave their savings in a standard account that barely earns any interest, often less than inflation itself. Others don't save at all. Anna, for example, managed to set aside $10,000, but left it in a basic savings account for 5 years. During that time, inflation slowly ate away its value, and today her money buys far less than it once did. In practice, she lost purchasing power even though the numbers stayed the same. Leaving money idle is like turning down a raise you could receive every single month. Compounding interest, the force that multiplies wealth over time, never comes into play because the money simply doesn't move. There is also the mistake of not planning for the future. Too many people live only for today: the weekend barbecue, the next vacation, the monthly payment that just barely fits the budget. But they don't think about what comes later. When old age arrives, the reality is harsh. Keep working even when you're exhausted, depend on your children, or survive only on Social Security, which often isn't enough to cover even basic expenses. Imagine Peter, who never invested in retirement and never saved on his own. Now, at 65, he survives only on his Social Security check and can't afford both rent and medication. Failing to plan for tomorrow condemns millions to a stressful old age, when they could be enjoying peace and dignity had they started even with small amounts decades earlier. Another common mistake is believing in shortcuts. Promises of easy money appear constantly, and they always sound tempting. Scams dressed as investment clubs, trendy crypto coins, schemes promising high returns with zero risk. They lure people in every day. Countless Americans have lost their entire life savings because they believed in magical promises. Claudia, for instance, put $50,000 into a so-called fund that guaranteed to double her money in 6 months. In the end, it was a scam, and she lost almost everything. This mistake is born from the rush to get rich quick, mixed with lack of knowledge. And impatience combined with ignorance is the perfect fuel for fraudsters. Finally, there is a mistake that seems small but destroys careers and keeps people stuck for life: not investing in yourself. Many complain about low wages, but do nothing to make themselves more valuable in the marketplace. The world changes constantly: new technologies, new industries, new skills in demand. The moment you stop learning, you stop growing. Michael, for example, stayed in the same job for 10 years without updating his skills, and he watched younger colleagues pass him by in promotions and salary simply because they invested in education. And it's not always about expensive degrees. It's about expanding knowledge, improving communication, learning sales, mastering organization. Every skill you gain increases your potential to earn more. Ignoring this truth is choosing to remain on the same level forever. Put together, these 7 mistakes explain why so many people work hard year after year and still have little to show for it. Spending more than you earn, living without savings, trading real wealth for the illusion of status, letting money sit idle, failing to plan ahead, falling for scams, and refusing to grow. All of these are poisons that slowly corrode financial lives. The good news is that every single one of them can be corrected. It doesn't require luck. It doesn't require being born rich. It only requires awareness and discipline. Those who learn to control expenses, build an emergency fund, invest consistently, think long-term, avoid shortcuts, and develop valuable skills end up completely changing the trajectory of their life. In the end, becoming wealthy in America is not about hitting the lottery. It's about avoiding the mistakes that almost everyone else makes. Whoever manages to stay away from them is already miles ahead of the crowd. It's like rowing against the current, hard at first, but soon you notice you are leaving everyone else behind. And when you look back years later, you realize that small, smart decisions turned into real wealth, independence, and peace of mind. Avoiding these mistakes is more than a financial choice. It is a lifestyle choice. It's saying no to consumerism, no to impatience, no to the urge to just look rich. It's deciding, day after day, to plant seeds that will bloom in the future. And the most encouraging part is that anyone can start today, right where they are, even with just a little, as long as they decide not to keep repeating the same mistakes that most people still insist on making.